Patriots are 18-0. Super Bowl, here we come.
In 2007, the New England Patriots went on an unprecedented run, going 16-0 in their regular season, not losing a single game. On the back of the Tom Brady-Randy Moss duo, the Pats had the best offense in the league combined with the fourth best defense. Once they got to playoffs, they beat the Jaguars, then the Chargers, to find themselves in the Super Bowl for the fourth time since 2001. An undefeated 19-0 season, all but guaranteed.
Pretty silly. This team was as complete a football team, top to bottom, I think that you'll ever see.
Standing in their way was the 10-6 wildcard team, New York Giants. While the Giants' season was an improvement over their previous year's performance of 8-8, popular opinion definitely did not favor them, even with some claiming this to be one of the worst teams to make it to the finals. Ironically, the two clashed in the last regular season game, where the Pats took a close victory over New York to secure their perfect regular season. Going into this Super Bowl, New York were the clear underdog. How would the Giants stack up against a very dominant New England? The first half of the game was pretty slow, with New York only kicking a field goal and New England only scoring one touchdown. But once the fourth quarter began, the game got exciting. The Giants finally scored their first touchdown, and New England answered in kind. Then, with 1:11 on the clock, on third down, Eli Manning is able to spin his way out of this mob of players and chuck the ball into the air, where David Tyree performs a miraculous helmet catch, getting New York a crucial first down with less than a minute remaining. This then led to a Giants touchdown, giving Brady and the Pats 35 seconds and 3 timeouts in order to try and salvage their game, which they were unable to do. With a second left on the clock, the Giants take back the ball, and New England's coach Belichick runs onto the field to shake hands, and quickly leaves the field before the New York celebration can begin. Eli takes a knee, and somehow, against all odds, the Giants complete one of the most miraculous postseason runs in the history of professional sports. Now, let's talk about Street Fighter League.
A line has been drawn in the sand, and only the bold will cross it.
Every year, players around the world are invited to compete in Street Fighter League, where the best of the best come together to compete in a team-based format. While some may disagree with the rule set of the format, the league still remains as an exhibition of what the top level of Street Fighter play should look like, and every team is fighting for a spot in playoffs. By week 14, the super team Nasser X Bandits were sitting comfortably in first place, while the scrappy Red Rooster was still fighting to secure their spot. Red Rooster won the first 10-point set, then Nasser X Bandits won the second 10-point set, leading to a final 20-point clash between Smug and Angry Bird.
What?
Smug is well known in the fighting game community. Coming up during the Street Fighter IV era, Smug was the best Dudley player, and was able to make a name for himself in the earlier seasons of Street Fighter V with his Balrog.
Blocks the EX, gets the crush counter. That might, no. He wins for it. Takes it over. Dangle, he's moving on to grand finals.
Along with his professional accolades, Smug is also one of the prolific personalities in the community.
Smug moves on.
But coming into the later seasons of Street Fighter V, Smug didn't have the same level of success that he once did. He was still a top-level player, he just wasn't a contender for winning big international tournaments anymore. And sitting across from him was Angry Bird.
This is ridiculous.
Angry Bird had been on the come-up throughout the lifespan of Street Fighter V. Being one of the 2 stars from the UAE, Angry Bird's Street Fighter V career was overshadowed by the performance of his countryman, Big Bird. But in this season of Street Fighter League, Angry Bird has been putting on a dominating performance, with victories over Punk, NL, and DCQ in important games. Angry Bird has been on fire, fighting to prove himself as a contender for the best player in the world. So where does Smug go from here? He finds himself in a must-win situation against an unstoppable threat. New York can't seem to catch a break. The first thing players need to consider is the character matchup. Angry Bird has been playing Ken for most of the season, and Smug alternates between Balrog and G. Balrog can spin past Ken's fireballs, while Ken can punish Balrog's misspaced dash punches with a Shoryuken. But Smug chose to play G, where he had multiple advantages he could play around. G has very large, heavy buttons, which means he can outrange Ken. This means Ken is very heavily incentivized to throw out his fireball in order to compete for space. This, in turn, opens up Ken to G's anti-fireball tools, which Smug definitely takes advantage of. But playing the matchup can only get you so far. And unless you're playing Kage versus an actual character, good players can overcome the weaknesses any matchup presents. So what does Smug do here? Round 1 goes well for Smug, but round 2 starts and Smug starts playing very differently than in his previous and future league matches. He just stands there. Why is he standing there? For context, this makes no sense. When you stand in Street Fighter, not only are you not blocking, you aren't taking space by moving forward. Normally, when you want to hold your ground, you can crouch block. And unlike standing, you still block incoming attacks. So why is he doing this? In competitions, it's important to remember you're competing against another human being. What do I mean by this? Well, for starters, humans don't play perfectly. Human players need to account for many more variables that a computer would not. Humans have the possibility of dropping, or messing up, their difficult combos. Humans have to worry about their mental stack and reacting to jumps, dashes, and other ways of getting in. And of course, humans can get frustrated by their opponents. Player emotion can directly affect player performance. While anger or elation can make a player more aggressive, frustration leads players to become more error-prone, and potentially worse decision-making skills. So if you can manage to get your opponent upset, you put yourself in a highly advantageous position. So how do you do this?
With you?
We've already seen Smug stand around for absolutely no reason. But it gets worse. In the following rounds, he stands around some more, goes for a really questionable command grab, and hits a despicable overhead. And it was working. It was working astonishingly well. Angry Bird was messing up on offense.
Oh, no confirm. Oh, that's awkward.
See?
On defense.
Yeah, no meter on the side. What?
And just about everything in between. Angry Bird repeatedly threw fireballs when Smug had V-Trigger up, which led to him getting punished multiple times.
Oh, nice.
And luckily for us, Street Fighter League features player cams. And if you take a look in the top right corner, Angry Bird is not having a good time. Just look at the comparison between the two. And it's not just the players. Even the casters picked up on how Angry Bird was
I
playing.
will say, I got a couple of things to highlight from the Angry Bird. I feel like there are a couple of moments where he wasn't playing at max capacity. A couple of guesses, more often than not, have led to destruction.
Smug ends the set with his signature command grab. And Angry Bird gets up early to shake Smug's hand before he even finishes the combo.
And Angry Bird already taking off his headset, bro. He did not like what was happening, Gold.
Just like that, Smug overcame an opponent that seemingly outmatched him. So let's go back to football. The Giants' offense was strong, but it really was their defense that won them the game. The top offense in the league gave their worst scoring performance in the entire season, the previous being a 20-point victory over the Jets. The Giants' pass rush was exceptional, sacking Brady again and again and again. And even when they couldn't get to him, they still wouldn't let him get comfortable, pressuring him over and over again. And all of that got in Brady's head. He was throwing bad pass after bad pass with open men on the field. And it wasn't just Brady who was tilted. The Patriots' offense couldn't stay disciplined with their false starts. The Patriots let the Giants get in their head and lost the game. Smug in New York may have been outclassed on paper, but were able to mount a victory by, well, out-mentaling them. While it is important to beat your opponent by being better than them, the game beneath the game shouldn't be neglected. Play a few mind games and who knows, you may steal a couple easy wins.
You know, just play my game and don't really overthink it and just win with the greatest of ease.
Is this comparison a bit of a stretch?
Perhaps.
But I do think it's an intriguing way of analyzing Super Bowl 42. Now, I know these stories sound good, but we have to put some asterisks next to them. Did Smug and the Giants win? Yes they did. But objectively speaking, they were still worse. Red Rooster failed to make the Street Fighter League playoffs, they're 20 points off, while Nasser X Bandits claimed the first seed. We don't need to talk about what happened next, it doesn't fit the narrative. And the following year, Angry Bird won EVO, the biggest fighting game tournament in the world for the newly released Street Fighter 6.
That'll do it! Angry Bird, your Street Fighter 6 Evolution 2023 champion!
The Eli Manning Giants did win the Super Bowl again 4 years later, ironically beating the Patriots again.
Tom Brady's the GOAT. Sight! I beat him twice!
But the Brady Patriots were able to win another 3 Super Bowls after this loss. My point is this: don't try to win all your games by tilting your opponent. It can be a very effective strategy or last resort. It doesn't matter how upset you get your opponent if you drop all your combos or with every button. But if you're ever in a tough spot and you need just that little push to get there, you could do something unnecessary just to get in your opponent's head.
The taunt? He did a taunt combo to Punk in Grand Finals of Evo? I've never seen him do anything like that.
Who knows? It might just win you everything.
That's it! That's it! Tokido is the Evolution 2017 champion coming on!
I want to say, fighting game is something so great.